Hey guys, Thomas Sulu Jr. here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie Alien Covenant. So, before I went into this movie, I learned that this was an official sequel to Prometheus while being a prequel to the first Alien movie. So, with that in mind, I did lower my expectations as I felt Prometheus was a pretty all over the place type of movie that just didn't really do it for me. So, with that, I went into this 2 hour long film that starts off with this robot. I believe his name was David, played by Michael Fassbender, and he's doing all this stuff about taking orders from his master. Honestly, I think they could have cut this intro out of the movie and nothing would have been lost, but we jump onto the ship, which is named the Covenant, so that is where that particular name comes from. So the ship enters this sort of shockwave thing, and it causes one of the people, the leader of the ship, to die. So our main character, or one of our main characters, I suppose, named Danny, mourns the loss of the leader, we see flashbacks, who is played by James Franco, and in that attack of just being wiped out by this thing, 47 other colonists are wiped out as well. So Tennessee, played by Danny McBride, uh, is mourning the loss. Now, the other robot, who's also played by, again, Michael Fassbender, as we learn later, is played by Walter. I believe this was the one in Prometheus, unless I'm getting the two mixed up. That is something that I feel like this movie had an issue with, is like I kind of lost track of which one was which I think was sort of the point, because later on that plays into effect. Anyways, the remaining crew who are awake, just the crew members, not the colonists, discover that there is a new planet, or a planet that is closer to the one that they're attempting to get to. So they try fixing up the ship, slowly but surely, and that takes up a few minutes of their time. They recognize the new planet, and then they go and start to check it out. They send in the smaller ship filled with a few crew members whose names I just jotted down on my little notepad here off to the side. Edgar, Cole, Edward. These guys, unfortunately, you're just absolute cannon fodder. I learned those three names, for nothing because I don't remember any of their characteristics other than, oh, that guy is supposed to die. So their new leader, who is this sort of faith-based guy, is like, oh no, we gotta explore this place because it might be the perfect colony. And while that's happening, his wife Karen is trying to take samples of the planet they are on, and one of the members, I believe Danny, the main character, actually notices that there were no animals, which led her to be a little bit more suspicious as they start to move closer, and they find this picture of the protagonist of the previous Prometheus movie, Dr. E. Shaw, and how that movie took place 10 years ago, at least in the timeline of this movie. So they touch these green orby things, or at least one of the team member does, and sets up the stuff. And then one of the members, I think his name was Leeward or something, I don't know, but he was infected via these black spores. And one of the other members, again, a name, I don't know, he also gets infected. One of them starts spewing out blood. They try to get him into the ship. I believe Tennessee's wife was in the captive area where they eventually brought him into. So the one of the earlier aliens that come from the backside. It looks like a little bit of a more whitish, yellowish, light alien, but it kind of grows a little bit, and then it starts attacking the people there, and it starts to transform the longer it is out. The wife of the captain starts trying to shoot it, but she falls on the blood. I guess she didn't realize it was there. Pretty silly stuff. Uh, but the alien's getting shot at, so it's like trying to flee. And somehow they set off a bomb that was on the ship, or something happens, and the ship eventually blows up. So the second infected guy, whose name I don't remember, dies. Another alien comes out, and Tennessee eventually hears about the screams, or something like that, or rather something. Anyway, the alien starts attacking some other guy. It's the alien, from what we see, is super quick, which isn't too much of a surprise here. But it's not quite the alien that we have come to know. Anyway, so they set up a flare, and then some cloaked guy comes and rescues them. And this is where we meet, I believe it was William. I believe William was the one from Prometheus. And again, I'm probably going to keep getting these two confused. Played by the same guy, and they eventually have the same look. And again, that plays into the end of the movie. But so David is there, and he meets William at one point. So the two robots have this little chat, and they have a little anal joke about I'll do the fingering, haha. So they try to add some comedy in there, even though they're just coming from two robots. I believe William talks about how he was the more emotional of the two, and David felt out of obligation and duty to be more of the classical robot that just doesn't think about stuff in that sort of way. So Danny talks with the leader, whose name I just remembered because I saw the note there, Chris. So they're talking about him needing faith. But then the sudden cut comes in, and this happens a little bit more later in the movie, unfortunately. These sudden cuts. It comes at a bit of a distraction. So we see eventually at some point the robot, I think one of the earlier designs, he had the white hair. I don't know which one this was because it didn't say anything, but he sent down this black plague like thing to all the Prometheus guys. I'll just call them that because I don't know what else they were called. Anyways, the alien ends up killing some chick named Rose, I believe. I think this was the one that Danny, or I should say Tennessee, liked. So, although I thought she died early, I don't even know. These characters are really hard to keep track of, by the way. So anyway, let's see. The robot sees the alien. I think the one that we're seeing at this point was William, and he's like trying to calm it down or something like that. And the leader, Chris, she tries to shoot it down. The robot's mad. So he brings him over to tell him the truth, and he shows him to the egg, and he tells him about how he was the one who made this egg, as well as other variations of the early facehugger design and all that other stuff. So the facehugger thing opens up, it latches onto Chris. He is now infected with the official alien that we get to see eventually. So kept writing David because this is where I started getting mixed up. I think this was still William at some point. Anyway, Danny wants to know where William is, I think. Unless she was looking for David. I don't even know. I think she was looking for David at this point because he was still elsewhere. So Chris wakes up pretty abruptly, and then the facehugger, the alien comes out. Sorry, and its design isn't the one we see in the first Alien, where it still has that light sort of skin, I guess I'll call it, that exo skin. It does come out like this little black like creature pretty early on, and then it's like this super small alien, and then it eventually quickly grows in the size. Uh, so let's see. David asks Walter. So the two robots eventually meet each other again. And then Walter, I believe still the evil one, talks about how he feels like he's the god of the alien race, I guess, because he helped create them. And out of a bizarre move, Walter decides to kiss David, so Michael Fassbender kissing himself. What a bizarre scene. Then he tries to take out David, and then he looks more like him at that point. So more of the group is doing the dumb, oh, let's split up at this point. And so, I think there was like another guy who saw like the facehugger and was trying to shoot at it. And while they're shooting at that one, the bigger alien, the first one that came out, attacked the guys that were within that vicinity. So the robots start fighting, and then Walter attacks Danny. That's what I wrote. Sorry, I almost messed up David and Danny now. But Danny is attacked by Walter, I believe. And she's like, oh, get off me. And then she's saved by one of her teammates. And then that part I'll get back to, because that doesn't make any sense. Why Walter would attack them now, and how she wouldn't realize that that was Walter later on in the movie. But that aside, Tennessee gets his ship closer and closer, and he eventually gets them down. So they get the ship there, and then we cut to... So everyone's back on the ship, everyone's fine. I think they took out some of the facehuggers, but there was still that one alien left that was on the ship. So we cut to this couple who I don't know if they ever left or if they were on the ship the entire time. I honestly don't remember. And they're making out. You actually see this one in the trailer with the alien coming up from the shower. So it kills the guy, and then the girl freaks out, and then, well, she dies, of course. So the Danny and Tennessee start this plan where Walter's like at the computer helm, closing up the doors behind them, but she assumes that it's the other robot. She assumes, for whatever reason, I don't even know why, that it was David. So I don't know how that ended up happening, but whatever. So Danny eventually gets it to this hangar area and starts banging on the railing, and the alien comes out, chases them, and she leads herself open so the alien attacks her, but they had this truck thingy behind her that was coming toward her from the other side. She manages to get out of the way just in time to strike the alien down. And then everything seems hunky-dory. Danny again, assuming that this robot is Walter, is like, "Oh, I trust you," and then Tennessee is already in one of the pods, even though they kept saying, "Oh, we don't trust the pods anymore" way earlier in the movie. But now they're like, let's go in the pods." So Danny and Tennessee go in the pods, and Walter, I believe, again, trying not to get that mixed up, opens his mouth and takes out these two green embryo like egg things that have two face huggers in them. I assumed to be set for Tennessee and Danny. So I believe this ship is the one that ended up in the movie that we see in Alien, the colony. Um, so the two aliens that were there attached at some point, I assume, and then that's the start of Alien, I assume. Um, as far as this movie is concerned, like I said, the first half of this movie just it was kind of meh. The characters were really hard to keep track of. Uh, except for like maybe two characters, like that being the ones that survived. Danny and Tennessee were the only two characters that I felt comfortable like remembering. Even the robots, I got them confused at some point. Like I actually thought that was David who ended up being Walter. Again, I think I don't know, but yeah. As far as everything else is concerned, like I said, this was a 2 hour movie, so it was a bit hard to get through. Some of the cuts were a little bit choppy. Like when the flashbacks happened, it's like, boom, okay, whoa, hey. Uh, and yeah, we don't really quite get to know the entire crew. Most of them, like I mentioned, just are absolute cannon fodder. And I don't know how I feel about this movie. I mean, I like the mysterious aspect of the original two Alien movies, and now that we have this sort of weird explanation of how like this robot's doing everything to set this up, and it all came from Prometheus, and now this is being set up. It was a little bit weird as far as that aspect is concerned. As far as everything else, I felt it was pretty meh. I'd give this movie a 5 out of 10. I felt like a good chunk of this movie could have been. I felt like the wrong parts of it, especially in the first half, were left in, and there wasn't enough time to get to know the actual characters that we were seeing. Like, once they land down, these characters are just introduced and just killed instantly. We don't really get to know who they are, except, again, who I mentioned. And the whole thing with the alien was a little bit confusing. Like the whole Prometheus aliens, I'll just call them that, I guess. And then the actual alien. Like it seems a bit odd that multiple designs could have came from that one thing. And I'm talking about the facehugger thing. That seems a bit odd to me. Um, So yeah, I felt like some of the explanations were just a bit weird, too weird. The whole was it Walter and David thing got a really bizarre. I thought his acting was okay on both ends, but it just got confusing. And again, I think that was the point, but at the same time, I felt like they could have done something a little bit more distinctive when they were first introduced, except having like one being cloaked for like a certain amount of time. Maybe like I don't know. I don't know what they could have done with that, but anyway, I guess that one thing helps with the main character Danny getting confused because that kind of did get me. So I guess that did end up working out just fine. Everything else, like I said, meh. So this is a super long review, so I think I should call it here. And if you did like this review, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, everyone, bye!